everybody, and welcome to today's webinar, Empowering Adult Learners to be Ambassadors, Lessons Learned. Today's webinar is generously sponsored by Burlington English, and today we have Robert Breitbart on, who is going to share a few words with us. Robert?
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Bonney there, and to all of our friends out there who are participating today. So glad that you are so focused, with everything going on, so focused for the betterment of your learners. And it goes without saying, huge thanks to our friends at COABE, the board, to James, to Sharon, and everybody involved with bringing you these fantastic webinars. We at Burlington English have been thrilled now to be part of the founding sponsors of these. And it's so great because we know that these bring so much. And you're in for a real treat today, super highly engaging, and talk about getting all hands on deck, definitely getting our learners involved. And speaking of which, I know there's talking about, all hands on deck. We at Burlington English are also super pleased to also bring you, professional development, learning opportunities that complement everything that you see that COABE is doing. So please, next week, if you'd like to find out more about how you can work with community and other WIOA title partners and really bring training opportunities and really career pathway planning for all of your adult education learners, then please join us next week. Just go to burlingtonenglish.com/webinars to register for next week, free of charge. We'd love to see you there. And then also every Wednesday at 12:30 p.m. Eastern and 6 p.m. Eastern as well. We also do themes, and we're doing themes now through March, which is also the integrated education and training, as well as integrated English literacy and civics education. So if you're interested in that, please also join us. I know you'll really find them very, very worthwhile. And again, on behalf of all of us, all of my colleagues all throughout the country, we'd love to help you with your adult education efforts in any way, shape, or form. So please just visit us at www.burlingtonenglish.com/contact. Love to see you. And now back over to our presenters. And thank you, James. Really appreciate all your hard work.
Thanks so much, Robert. We appreciate your partnership and friendship, and of course, everything you do in the world of adult ed and adult literacy. It's much appreciated. All right, well, we have a great topic today. Our presenters are Elizabeth Jacobs, Tiffany Pippin, and Dr. Yvette Myrick. So please say hello and tell us where you're from in the chat box. If you have any questions, please submit those in the Q&A box. And with that, I will turn it over to them. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. And thank you to coming to join us today and being part of our presentation. I know you have many other choices, so thank you for being part of this presentation. My name is Yvette Myrick. Please just call me Yvette. And I'm from Colorado Mountain College. And I was looking in the chat room, we have people from all over. So I've actually from Maryland, from the East Coast. I moved out to Colorado about 5 years ago. So exciting to see everybody from different parts of the United States. I've been working in adult education for a number of years, about 25 to 30 years. So thank you for doing that. As far as putting with your location. So it's really interesting to see everybody's location. The title is Empowered Adult Learners to be Adult Learning Ambassadors, Lessons Learned. And joining me today is Tiffany, and Lisbeth. Not sure if you want to say a few words about yourself.
Thanks so much for coming today. My name's Tiffany Pippin, and I manage the adult education program at Spring Institute here in Denver. We're kind of a small community-based organization, and we have classes all over the Denver metro area. Thanks again for being here today.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Jacobs. I'm an adult education ambassador for Colorado Mountain College, which is a college that serves the western slope of Colorado. And we're excited today to be joining you and giving you this presentation.
Okay. So we're really excited today. And just to give an overview of our presentation, so, like they say in education, a lot of times you tell the students and you present about what you're going to talk about, then you present it, and you summarize at the end. So just as a quick overview, we're going to talk about the history of the ambassador program. Lisbeth and Tiffany are going to answer a couple of questions about how they got started, opportunities, and things like that. And then we also going to share some videos, which I think are really exciting. You're going to get to see videos from some of our student ambassadors. And Tiffany's going to talk about a new opportunity that she has in her program. And as mentioned, please put your questions in the Q&A, and then we left some time to answer any questions that you may have. So without that further ado, we'll go ahead and get started. So we all came together, just so you know, we're in different locations out here in Colorado. But one of the great things, we learned about the ambassador program from the Colorado Department of Education. And they talked about the program and who wanted to be part of the ambassador program. So I volunteered my program and my instructors and a student to attend a training that they had in Denver a couple of years ago. And as a matter of fact, Lisbeth was the instructor that came forth and said, oh, I would love to go to the training. And we have a student who you're going to see, who we're going to talk about a little bit later, also volunteered. So that's how we sort of came about, is we all came together and said we wanted to be part of the ambassador program when we heard about it in Colorado.
So I'll start with the history of the student ambassadors. As you can see, it originated in Pima Community College in Arizona in 2009, and it was in response to cuts in funding. Basically, the federal funds were cut for adult education, and then that reduced the numbers of adults that could participate in adult education. And the figures are staggering because we needed 1.5 million adult learners. We needed them to participate, and only 44 million adults get to participate. So it was a stark decline in those students that could access services. And what we've learned and the history is that the programs, the participants do make a great impact in their community. The stories, hearing the stories that brought them to success and sharing their journey is extremely powerful. And it is one of the pillars of the ambassador program. Again, in 2003 and 2009, we saw big funding cuts, and we saw the need for advocacy groups. And we have shown that engaged learners become leaders in their classroom and community. So it has been a very positive program.
So some of you might be familiar with the Student Ambassador Program, or maybe you're not. So we'll just kind of review what it actually is. So this is a Train the Trainer training from COABE, and the focus is on increasing the students' skills with advocacy. There's some practice with public speaking, leadership skills, storytelling. Something we don't have in here is they did some work around using data for their advocacy as well. And so the idea is, in the training, the students learn more about adult education and advocating for adult education and using their personal story to advocate for adult education. But the skills that the training has can be used in other contexts, like maybe they want to participate in a school board meeting or city council meeting, or you know, even just some of those self-advocacy needs that they have with healthcare providers or in different situations. So we'll talk a little more about how some of those skills from our students have been transferred to other situations. So the format is, for this particular training, it's a half-day training. And like I mentioned, they learn a lot of statistics and data about adult education. They learn themselves about the history of the Ambassador Program and its beginnings in Arizona. they prepare a personal story with their own experience about adult education and how it's impacted their life. They work on building awareness about the importance of adult education. So kind of like learning all that data and analyzing it so that they can themselves be aware of the importance and be able to talk about it using their story and the data. They polish their public speaking skills, so doing some practice presenting that story and getting feedback from the trainers. And then the biggest part of the half-day training is that they organize and facilitate a meeting with a person in power, is what it's called. So for example, when we did the training, we invited a director from the Colorado Department of Education. She joined us, and the students facilitated a meeting with her and then had an ask at the end. So there are a lot of like great moving parts in this training. Of course, with COVID, neither of our programs have had an in-person ambassador training for at least a year. So yeah. But yeah, some really great elements to this training that the students get practice with.
So thank you, Lisbeth and Tiffany. So what we wanted to do is, with your experience and your implementation in the program, is I just want to ask you a couple of questions that may resonate with other people. So one of the questions that I have for both of y'all are, what strategies that you utilize when you had to identify and recruit students to become student ambassadors?
Well, for in the environment in a community college, it was a lot of networking with different educators from the ESL and HSE programs. So it was a matter of communicating with different instructors to see who might be ready to become an ambassador. And it didn't require particularly anyone that, as long as they were in a journey to adult education, they didn't have to have finished their GED or HSE already. The point was to have students that were willing and excited about bringing about change in their community. So it was through these teachers that we mainly identified students that wanted to participate. Tiffany?
Yeah, really similar situation for us, except that we're geographically, our classes are spread throughout the Denver metro area. So we recruited from all those different classes, and we relied on teachers too to kind of like nominate students. And we said, you know, if the students are leaders in the classroom, or you know that they're leaders in their communities, or they're just exhibiting leadership skills, and you think that they might want to develop those a little bit further, then they would be a good fit for the program. And so yeah, very similar. We recruited very similarly as Lisbeth. Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
So many words.
Okay, thank you. And now that you had a chance to implement it and looking back on it, what were some of your opportunities and challenges that you had when you implemented the Student Ambassador Program upon reflection?
So the opportunities is that it's a great way for students to know that we're engaging with their community and that we are attempting to meet their needs. As you guys saw, there's usually not enough funding for the students. So implementing the ambassador program is a great way to let them know that we care and that we want to make a change in the community and bring those opportunities to them. So that was one of the opportunities. And it also creates opportunities for the students. One of my students, the one that went to the initial training with me, people were so impressed with her at a conference when she spoke and shared her story that her community wanted her to speak at a council meeting and talk about adult education. So the opportunities really are endless. And Tiffany probably can speak much more to that. Also, the challenges are always the time and timing. The time is, as you know, a lot of parents are really busy and they have households where people might be working 2 jobs. So having time to do these trainings and take a whole day off or half a day off to go to a training, sometimes it's very challenging for them. And also getting the timing right. You have to get everyone together at the same time. The person in power has to be available and the students have to be available. And bringing those 2 things together sometimes can be quite the challenge. And also the last challenge that I will mention is having childcare available. That is always a challenge for the students, and then having that just come together with the timing, and it can be quite challenging to accomplish. So those are the ones that stick out to me. Tiffany.
Yeah, I think a lot of similar things. So opportunities, this training gave kind of a venue for those students who were showing leadership skills to develop them more. It was a great opportunity for students to build their confidence. And another thing that we didn't anticipate is that our particular training, we ended up having students from like 10 different cultures, and they got to meet each other, and they had never been in one place at the same time because our classes are all community based and they're all over the metro area. So that was kind of cool to be able to bring those different cultures together, and they really enjoyed learning from each other in that way. And I think the challenges are that the training is pretty short. It's only a half day. So you can't dig in as much as you want to, but we'll kind of talk a little bit later about some follow-up that we've done. And then, yeah, the childcare, transportation, taking off work, that is a lot for our students in general. So that was a little bit tricky to kind of figure that part out too. Excuse me.
Thank you. And I was just going to mention for the opportunities and some of the challenges, I've really seen where the students have grown from being part of the ambassador program. Those that were afraid to speaking and advocating for themselves, but after the training and presentations, I've seen where they have grown. And as you had mentioned, some of the challenges, time, these are adults and they have responsibilities and families and jobs. So you're right, that is a challenge about getting everyone together. But once they got together and they were trained, I really saw the growth in the students. And our last question that I have for you all is, looking back on it, what are some of the lessons that you learned along the way as far as implementing the ambassador program?
Well, some of the lessons that I've learned, and it comes in the form of 4 Ps. Basically, you have to be prepared, you have to be positive, you have to be persistent, and you have to persevere through the different challenges. So you have to be prepared to face the obstacles that will come with implementing the program. Like we mentioned, time is always a challenge. Childcare is always a challenge. So being prepared and in advance for those challenges is always helpful. As far as being positive, you have to look for the opportunities. You can't let all those challenges get you down. So you have to remain positive that these things can happen, that the students will be able to deliver their stories, remain positive in the sense that if you believe in them, they will believe in themselves. So if they see that you have a positive attitude about them giving a speech, even though they're they have stage fright, then they feed off of that positivity and they're able to do amazing things. From someone who basically, was positive that they couldn't do something, you have to turn that around and show them that they positively can do something and that they can deliver the story and that they can promote change and that they can be advocates for themselves and their community. Also being persistent. You have to pester students a little bit. You have to be kind of on top of their schedules and trying to, again, look out for possible pitfalls. So you have to be persistent through those, and you have to show them that you're willing and committed to this work. And if you show them that you're committed and willing to do this work, the students join you in that effort. And then you have to persevere through all the obstacles. Like I said, you have many challenges, but also showing them perseverance shows them that they can persevere through their own challenges, that they can, in fact, deliver a speech, that they can, in fact, persevere through their nerves, that they can deliver something that is very effective. And once they persevere through that, I think it's a really good outcome. And we learned that throughout our time with the students. Tiffany?
Yeah, I think lessons learned to make sure to anticipate barriers that the students might have to participate. So, if you're able to get childcare, I think that would be really helpful. We letting people know as far in advance as possible. So if they could take off work, maybe accommodating a weekend for people who can't do it during the week. And then also giving them as much prep work as you can to be able to maximize the time during the training. And also anticipating what kind of follow-up opportunities might be available. I think that was a little bit of a challenge with this because we didn't really think about what we were going to do as the follow-up, to help our students build on that momentum that they had gained during this training. Since we've done the training, we've reflected on that a little bit more and have found some opportunities, but I think trying to anticipate that before you do the training, I think would be really helpful. And yeah, I think just remembering that people, I think a lot of our adult learners, they need confidence building, and this training is a great way to do that, but just really being a coach and a cheerleader for them and helping them build that confidence that they so often need.
Well, thank you. And I would just also add, as an administrator overseeing the projects, because as I mentioned, Colorado Department of Education, they promoted it and we were like, yeah, let's do it. I would just say, if I didn't have Lisbeth, who worked with me at the college, I don't think I've been able to do all of this on my own. When I was like, oh yeah, let's do it. But then, people out there, we have other things going on besides the ambassador program. So I had 5 or 6 other things that I was working on. So you need those resources, and you need the staff and volunteers and instructors that can help you to implement this program. It would be very difficult if I was trying to do it by myself, plus also doing other things in my ESL and HSE classes. So if you can, in addition to the ambassadors, have someone, a staff person to help you out, some assistance, I think that's a big help instead of trying to do it all yourself. You utilize your resources that you have as possible. So thank you all very much. It's always good, like hindsight is 2020, to look back on things, and thanks for sharing a wealth of information about things that you learned with everyone.
I was going to mention too, just that we were able to observe another adult education program when they implemented the training, and we were kind of there as coaches and helping people polish their stories and practice their stories. And that was really helpful to do that first before we implemented our own training. So if that's an option for people, I think it's a great way to make it more successful. Talk to other people in your state or in your areas and see if they are doing it or have already done it.
Mhm. Great idea. Thank you.
So we have a couple of videos of some of our ambassadors that we want to share with you, just so you can hear from them directly and stop hearing from us a little bit. So I will go. The first ambassador's story we're going to highlight is Hesse, and he was one of the ambassadors with Spring Institute. So I'll go ahead and let him speak.
Hello everyone, my name is Issei Abraham. I am one of the groups who take classes from Spring Institute, and the class I take is the Ambassador Leadership Program. This class or this program is really helpful personally, and from what I see, from what I heard from the friends and the communities and from the community, it's really important, it's really vital. I really appreciate from what I learned, and that is ambassador training really helped me to be aware of the education level of United States, which I mean the education of the education level of population of United States within the state or within the state or within the national population. And it's really important because one is that it's really important and because it really helped me to gain my knowledge, and above all it really helped me to negotiate with leaders or with social change officials. So during that time, during that class, it really helped me. By the time I talked to one of the social change leaders, and though the time was really short, but it was really good time because we able to discuss more. That way we can solve adult education problems or any kind of issues. And another thing is about any programs to be advised or to send my advice for this program is to continue as it is, and to continue as it is, and also to more focus on adults. I really appreciate it because as refugees, as adults, we need more education here in the United States. The reason I say that is because for the kids and for the youngsters, they can go to school and then they can adopt the culture. But for the adult ones, the only way they can adopt the system of United States, how it works, is only on a workforce or during the working hours. They can learn more about the culture or about the community. But if there is any extra programs or any extra classes, that way they can be helped to understand what the community looks like, and that way they can to avoid illiteracy. And most of the refugees here, refugees, I can understand that although they can write and read, but they are having a hard time from gaining enough education. Maybe it could be financial, or due to family problem or family pressure. Regardless the problem or regardless the reason is, but if the social change leaders involve or intervene in some organizations, that way it will be helpful for the individuals or for the adults to avoid illiteracy or education with because a lot of refugees or a lot of single moms or single parents are being blocked or being closed or being hide from going to school, and this need to be changed. And for me personally, it's really important because ambassador training program, during that class, it really gave me self-awareness, self-motivation, and it gave me self-interest to involve more in community. And mostly what really helped me is to build self-confidence, in whether it's a public speaking or to deal with officials who change the society, they able to change. uh, and so it's really helpful, and I'm really glad that I um, joined with Spring Institute, and that way I can learn more about my community and other communities. That way I can change, or during by maybe by my ideas, or any or any or any or any officials. So it's really, I really appreciate about joining with Spring Institute as a volunteer, and thank you so much. Have a good day. Bye bye.
All right.
The sound was down a little bit low, so maybe we do have another video, and this is from Colorado. I'm not sure if we can, how the sound will be on this one, but I do know
It's
some.
too loud. Sorry about that. I have it all the way up.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Hello, and greetings from Colorado's Western Slope. My name is Lisbeth Jacobs, and I'm an adult educator ambassador at Colorado Mountain College. I became an ambassador because I know adult learners are full of potential and promise. Not only does the Adult Ambassador Program empower students, but it also teaches them how to advocate for themselves by talking to people in power. Adult ambassadors become mentors and allies to other adult learners, and it is a great program, and I'm excited to see our students reach new heights.
Hello, my name is Ana Argueta. I am a student ambassador of Colorado Mountain College. I am ambassador because it is an opportunity to advocate for adult education. I have benefit from adult education like ESL classes, and because my English is better and now I have easier job. And I believe adult education can help others improve their life. I encourage other adults, and finally talk to the people in power about the importance of adult education funding. Thank you.
So thank you. And I'll just mention an update on Anna. She was in the ESL classes when she became a student ambassador. Oh yeah, and the shirts the shirts that people had on. So I'll tell you a little bit about the photo. But Anna was in the ESL classes, as I mentioned, when she became a student ambassador. And just as a quick update, now she's in our GED classes. And I hear from the instructor that she's doing a great job, and hopefully we'll get her GED very soon. She's taking classes as we are speaking now, and she's enrolled this semester at the college in the GED classes. So this is a picture of from, before COVID. That's why we're so close together, and before the mask. We had an ESL HSE summit that I put on for educators and for professional development. And I asked the student ambassador, you see Elizabeth there with some of the student ambassadors, to help us to plan and organize it and to facilitate it. It was a chance for them to show leadership, and I had ordered all the shirts that everyone is wearing. Elizabeth helped me to come up with a design for it. but they love that. They love to talk to people. So as people were signing in at the summit, the ESL HSE summit, they had a chance to greet people, and people love the shirt. What does it mean? Your ambassador shirt. So they did a great job doing that. And the next slide is, as part of the summit, thank you. They also had a chance to do a breakout session at the summit. So not only were they there helping and organizing planning, they also, with Lisbeth, they did a breakout session where they talk about the ambassador program, their stories. And that was one of the highlights of the summit. On the evaluation at the end of the summit, people talked about the ambassadors more than anything else. So they really loved ambassadors and their stories and how they overcame their challenges. That was a big part of the session, was hearing their stories. So I just want to share. And they did a great job. They had a chance to present again, was it October, about a year or so ago. So they've been on the road before COVID. They presented a couple of times, the ambassadors. And that summit was April 13th, 2019, was when we did the ESL HSE summit. And people came from all over Colorado, different colleges, different programs, different organizations. So we had a great turnout. It was about 75 to 100 people from all over Colorado.
Yeah, so I mentioned earlier, one of the challenges with the student ambassador training is how to make it sustainable, or how to extend it, or how to just follow up with these students and keep that momentum going. So before I talk too much about this program that we started at Spring Institute, I'll show you a video that gives an overview of the program. It's really short, just 1 minute, and then I'll tell you more about it.
Do you see things in your school, community, city, state, or country that could be better? Do you want to be a change maker and bring a voice to your community and speak up on behalf of your family? Spring Institute is launching a training program designed to teach you how to make your community better. Immigrant or refugee parents or caregivers are invited to apply to our new leadership training program to learn skills and gain the experience needed to be a confident, powerful advocate for change. After successful completion of the program, you will not only be prepared to make the change you want to see, you will also receive a $1,000 stipend. We look forward to you joining this incredible movement for change. Apply to Spring Institute's Parents to Advocates program today.
Oops, nope. Sorry about that. At Spring Institute, we cannot use PowerPoint. No, here we go. We were thinking about how we could expand the student ambassador training and extend it. And at Spring Institute, we have an advocacy program, and our offices are actually located right next to the Colorado State Capitol, so pretty convenient for doing advocacy at the state level. And so we just launched this new program with our advocacy program. It's called the Parents to Advocates program, and this is a 1-year paid training to really dig into advocacy. And so we're really fortunate that we were able to get funding through a Colorado foundation to do this work. We've just started our first cohort. We're planning to do 2 cohorts. So we're meeting bi-weekly for 10 weeks, and each week is a different topic, topic around advocacy, and the participants of the program are working on building their advocacy toolkit. So we've done worked on using their personal story as a tool. They'll also be working on using data and creating fact sheets, and then also maybe doing some mini surveys in their communities. And each participant in this program is choosing and molding their own topics. So, and so they get to sort of keep building on that throughout the program. We're also inviting guest speakers. We have scheduled some state representatives to come talk. We have a Denver Public School Board member who's going to come talk. We have some other parent advocates in the community who will come speak. And so we're kind of taking that advocacy content expertise that we have and building lessons around that with our adult education program, working on vocabulary, writing skills, and kind of putting it all together. So yeah, we're just into our first cohort. We've met twice so far, but we're already seeing some really cool movement and really cool ideas from the group that we're working with.
Tiffany, this is online, correct?
Yeah, we're meeting bi-weekly on Zoom. And then we'll follow up after the 3 months with weekly coaching calls for all the participants to help them keep building on their plan. And then, oh yeah, the really cool thing about this that we were able to get the foundation to fund is that each participant will receive $1,000 stipend at the end of the training, just for participating and building up their project. We were also able to get them to fund stipends for childcare. So even though we're doing it on Zoom, childcare could still be a barrier. So for example, we have a woman in the program, like her husband drives Uber, and we're able to pay him to watch the kids during the live sessions while she's participating. And then we were also able to have some small stipends to provide technology. So we were able to purchase a couple of computers for some of the participants as well, so everybody can work on a computer. And then we store everything for this training in Google Classroom. And so we post videos, we do discussions, and we do pre-work before the meetings, and then there's post-work to work on the advocacy toolkit. Yeah, so I think at this time we were going to try to address any questions that are in the Q&A.
And I think, Tiffany, I think you hit on a couple of questions that were there. Some of the questions about your funding, but let's take a look at some of the questions, because we do want to give everyone enough time so we could answer your questions either in the chat room or the Q&A. But I think, Tiffany, you answered a few of the questions. Questions about distance learning and, in light of COVID and things like that. But let's just go through, you want to start with the chat room? And then we can go to Q&A. I think I saw a question or two in the chat room.
Yeah, whatever you all want to do.
Okay. One of the questions in the chat room, and then we go to Q&A. Might you talk about strategic partnerships? Who did what to make it work? Who added value, and who was at the table that could move it forward? I could just speak for Colorado Mountain College. We partnered with some agencies. We went to the Workforce Center. It wasn't like a formal partnership where we signed anything, to that nature, but we talked to them about partnering as far as presentations, what would be the needs and things like that, and businesses. So we talked to local business. What would you look for if someone was to come and advocate for you, the Workforce Center? As far as added value that was really valuable for us because, you know, we, in higher education, it's mainly about the teaching, the learning and things like that, but it's good to get someone from your community to be part of that partnership, either business, the local agency. We had mentioned about Colorado Department of Education, things of that nature. So they were all very helpful in giving us feedback. Elizabeth, did you want to add anything, or Tiffany, on your area for any partnerships that you have?
No, I think like finding other, like trying to have like a snowball effect of talking to other programs and either in your area or statewide to kind of build off what other people have done and learn from their experience doing this training, I think is really helpful, because we had to observe the training and then we collaborated with you all and learned how you were doing the training, and also being able to share this information with other programs to encourage them to do this as well.
Also, I think that partnering with other community organizations, like Yvette said, the Workforce Center, but there's a lot of nonprofits that would really be interested in this kind of advocacy work as well, and that would want to participate in doing their own advocacy work through the ambassador program, because they do serve different populations. So this can be implemented with them as well.
Thank you. And there was a question in the chat room. I think we talked about this a little bit more. I think Tiffany, you did, about the COVID times, the ambassador program, that now things are switching to more Zoom and online and Google to accommodate COVID.
I think Regina also mentioned in the comments that the ambassador training will now be online.
Yeah.
So she said to check the webpage for more information. There's also questions about cost. It doesn't, it didn't cost anything. COABE has the training already developed. I think you just need to contact them to get the slides. And the half-day training for ambassadors was something that COABE developed. The focus is on adult education advocacy. So there's a lot of data that the students learn about adult education, and the focus is on advocating for more funding or more access to adult education. But I think we all kind of like took the skill sets and applied them in different situations. At least for Spring Institute, a couple of our ambassadors, I forgot to mention this, they actually testified to the Colorado State Legislature on a bill that we were working on to increase access and potentially funding for adult education in Colorado. We weren't able to get the funding because of COVID and budget cuts, but the bill did pass. So it was pretty cool to have two of our ambassadors testify for that bill.
Okay, thank you. And in the Q&A, did I miss any questions in the chat room? Otherwise, we can go to Q&A. Okay. And one of the questions, the challenges of students. I think we had talked about the distance ed, about childcare, homeschooling, focus and motivation. Yeah, we talked about the technical part about distance ed, how to maintain the focus and motivation for the students, because it can be a challenge. We talked about the technical part, the Zooming and things like that. Tiffany, with your students, any challenges about them being focused and motivated with your programs?
For the ambassador program or the new program?
The new program you have now, so.
The new program, we actually kind of had them sign like a little contract per se. We tried to make the expectations really clear about the commitment for this program. And there was an application process for this one, and we did some like follow-up interviews with some of the applicants. and they could also be nominated by someone who knew about their work. So they're very committed because they kind of went through a process, and then, you know, we've been very, very clear with the application process and in our meetings that, like, of course, like, you know, we want everyone to get the stipend, but we do want you to complete all this work and commit to all the work that we're asking from you.
That's really key about that agreement. So they know the expectations going into it.
There's one more question in the chat regarding the program, since Tiffany's talking about it. And it says that for a year-long leadership program, how much staff capacity is needed to make it work? And also what the ideal cohort size is in your experience.
For the Parents to Advocates program, this is not the same as, just to clarify again, this is not the same as the Student Ambassador program. The Student Ambassador program is a half-day training that's free. The materials are provided via COABE. This Parents to Advocates program that we receive funding for from a Colorado foundation, we are doing 2 cohorts of 7 participants each, and we have 4 staff who are working on it. So 2 from our advocacy program and then 2 from our adult education program, because we really need the advocacy staff to help us with some of that specialist content that we're not familiar with, because those staff, they are doing, like, you know, press releases, they're meeting with legislators, they're part of various coalitions, and so they are really the experts on that content. And then I saw the question from Elena too about the funding for the stipend. Again, there's no stipend through the Student Ambassador training, but for the Parents to Advocates program, the foundation that funded that program, they allowed us to provide that stipend. So that we put that into our budget when we wrote that grant.
Okay. And I see we only have 6 minutes, but there are probably like 5 other questions in the Q&A. So I guess if we can quickly address all the questions. We talked about the first one. Do you have a model on paper to follow? I would like to start something like this in our program. If so, where do you share it? Or could you share it? Other than the training, are we talking about the training that's being offered as far as a model on paper? We probably have the training materials that we use to do the training.
Yeah, COABE provided, at least they provided the slides, they provided the template for the students to organize the meeting. They provide materials around drafting the personal story. They provided, there's all the fact sheets from Educate and Elevate. Those are the ones that we use for our training with that data. Not sure if you guys use the same ones. And our state Department of Education, they printed out the data on big posters, and different programs kind of passed them around so that we didn't have to absorb the cost of printing those.
Yeah, we use some of the same materials because I think we went to the same training. Do we have a list of programs by the state? I see there's a link there. We don't have the list by different states, but I see there's a link to the ambassador training. Maybe they will have the list, so you can reach out to them for that information. And how many participants have completed a training? How often do you offer the training? For my program, we have, was it 6 to 8 Lisbeth students to complete. And because of COVID, we haven't offered it recently. I do want to, we'll never be able to place Lisbeth, but she relocated out of our area to get one of my other instructors to take over the program and do as Tiffany is doing. We was hoping that things would go back a little bit normal for now. Maybe we could do in person, but it doesn't look that way. So we will have to start offering it by Zoom ourselves. The funding, I think, Tiffany, you had answered a question about the funding. And is there a draft of the curriculum So I think we had talked about the materials that we used for our training and where we got those from. What's that? I think those are all the questions. Did I miss anything in the Q&A room or? Okay. Well, the last few minutes, I want to say thank you to everyone. This was great. Hopefully the information was helpful. And from all of us at Colorado Mountain College, and I'm sure Tiffany as well, thank you so much for taking the time to be part of the presentation. And we did have our contact information at the end, but if you need to reach out to us, please feel free to contact us as well. So yep, there we go. Sorry, I had the Q&A in front of the screen. So anything, Tiff, we have a minute to Tiffany, Elizabeth, anything?
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I guess I just want to add that now that things are moving to online, there's a lot more opportunities for implementing these programs. I think that you still have the same challenges of childcare, like Tiffany mentioned, and motivation. But I believe that the ambassador program, since it's such a half-day training, it's a little bit more attainable for students. Of course, with Tiffany's program, you have that stipend that definitely is motivating, and it's helpful too, because you're helping the students out as well, and giving them something for their time and effort. But with the ambassador program, I think since it's shorter, it's a lot easier to deliver. And I think that we have good possibilities to deliver it online. That video that you saw with Anita and Margarita, she recorded that on Zoom with me. Of course, there was some production added to that video, but she was unable to go to a shoot and do a video shoot in person. And it turned out that she did it online with me via Zoom. So online offers a lot of opportunities as well for your students. So I think that that is something that even when COVID is over, that it is very valuable for students.
Definitely.
And thank you all for participating and being with us today.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you.
That was a great webinar, everybody. Thank you so much
Thank you.
for presenting that. I want to thank Robert with Burlington English again for their support. Robert, you want to say a quick word in closing, or?
Just fantastic job, ladies. I tell you, just give me the students. I'm ready to go. That was energizing. And to all our friends at COABE, thank you, James. Thank you, Sharon. Thank you to the board. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate you.
All right. Thanks, Robert. And thanks, everybody, for joining us today. As a reminder, this webinar replay will be posted to coabe.org along with all of the corresponding materials. I hope everybody has a great day and a great rest of the week. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.